This is All Things Google, brought to you by the Orland Park Public Library. And first and foremost, in the entirety of the presentation, we're going to be talking about Google Workspace, which includes Calendar, Gmail, Maps, everything to do with Google. That's what it's called now. It used to be called G Suite, but then now it's changed to Google Workspace. And also, along with that new change, you can see right here, all of the icons have changed over time. So first, we'll be talking about Gmail. Gmail is the email client that most people know when it comes to email. It first started out as a invite-only service, meaning just like kind of how groups are right now. If you're trying to share some kind of file on Drive, you have to ask for an invitation to actually view and edit the file. It's kind of like that, but then for this, you actually had to do that back then, which is kind of crazy. But as I listed right here, it is a simple, intuitive email service. So it's basically like any other email client you actually use, like Yahoo or Outlook or anything like that. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges to bananas, where everyone's kind of the same, but they all do their own certain things in certain different ways. And Gmail has a lot of hidden bells and whistles, including a whole suite of available services once you establish a Gmail account, which for short is a Google account. So what I'll do is I'll show an explanation, a screen cap of it, and then I'll show more hands-on after the PowerPoint. And I'll allow everybody to ask questions, but then I'm just going to go and have a visual representation of what each thing kind of looks like. And then this is kind of like what Gmail actually looks like on the front side. And as you can see right here, where you'll see a primary, which is anything that you get like a regular email or a verification code or anything like that. And then the social category to the right is anything relating to something that it already can detect, like say if you want something from Facebook or anything from any kind of social media site, depending on if it recognizes it or not, will fall either on social or primary, depending on what it identifies. And then promotions is anything it tries to send to you, whether it be some kind of advertisement or anything that it deems as a promotion, whether it be like a code or something like that, will probably be filtered there if it's not going to go into primary. But primary is kind of the main spot that everything is going to flow into. And then underneath inbox is starred. That means that you'll see a star. I'll show later on that if you see an email in your inbox, you'll actually be able to star it. And then anything you have starred, if you say have or 500 emails or something, you can actually star it and then go under starred. And then everything that you wanted to deem as most important by starring it will actually all show up in that list. And then snoozed, it's kind of like when you ignore like an alarm or something, but there's an option in the email itself to actually push off. Say if there's something like a meeting or if there's an email you want to get to later or anything like that, you can actually use the snooze option in the email, and then it'll be categorized under that umbrella. Send is anything you have sent, any emails. Drafts is anything like any emails that you actually don't finish and don't send, but it'll automatically save. And then I'll get to the other ones. But then as you see, new meeting and join a meeting for Google Meet, that is kind of Google Meet in itself. I'll get into later on, but it's pretty much it's kind of like Zoom, but for Google. It's kind of like a service that you can have multiple cameras with multiple people interacting in one group that can modify one file or just have a discussion. So it's kind of like that. And then underneath Hangouts it'll show everybody in your Hangouts group. It's kind of like Google Meet, but it's more one-to-one way of actually doing video chatting. So you'll see a green bubble, which means that you're available, and a red that's not available, or yellow it's busy. So then you'll see a whole list of stuff that is currently in Hangouts underneath your own profile. As you see underneath the user profile that I have underneath will be there. And next, we'll talk about Google Maps. Google Maps is the most popular directional app out there right now. And it estimates distance, time, and toll costs. So what that means is that once you say, I'll show later on, you go from a point A to a point B, it'll give you different options, whether it be via car, walking, biking, or train. And then it'll give you destination time, how far it is from one place or another. And also, if you plan to travel on a highway, you can actually see how much toll costs are for each one. So you can kind of plan ahead to see if you may or may not have enough, and you can kind of plan ahead. So then you'll know what time you'll get there, how long it'll take to get there, and the toll costs. And also there's other options too on Google Maps that you can use, that you can avoid toll roads, which is a longer way depending on how far it is away, but you can kind of use that as your own discretion. You can also redirect to faster routes based on traffic, which I kind of touched upon a bit ago, where instead of just giving you one option, it'll give you, say, 3 or 4 different options depending on how many routes there are. So you can kind of pick and choose what way will be faster. It'll give you the different destination time, how far it is, and everything kind of laid out, so you can pick and choose what route you want to take. And you can set home and work addresses. So if you have a Google account, when you sign in and you make some kind of route, you can actually set a home address and a work address. So then automatically, if you want to start a route, it'll automatically go to home to work as an option. And like I said before, you can avoid tolls. So basically what I said before was you can take the tolls, and then also there'll be an option, say, I don't want any tolls. And then it'll give you a different route to avoid the tolls, but then still get to that other destination. And like I said before, you can change the mode of transport, whether it be walking, biking, or train, or anything like that. So then you can kind of see, oh, to get to Walmart, you can take, if you take a bike, it'll take this certain amount of time to get there. Or if you want to walk, or if you want to drive, it'll give you different destination times and distances. And right here is you kind of see a brief overview of what Google Maps looks like when you first open the app or go onto the app on desktop. That you'll see on the top left-hand corner, you'll see search Google Maps. You can type in any kind of address or any kind of name of a place like Walmart or Target or anything like that. You can actually put in there. And then if it's a name of a restaurant specifically or a store, it'll give you a list of whatever's the closest to it. So then you can say, oh, is this what you're talking about? Is this the specific location that you're looking for? And then you can see the more metro design of the map, where you can see points where you see the yellow, it'll be indicating a restaurant or a fast food place or anything like that. The green is more of like a landmark, whether it be depending on if it's a complex, playground, country club, something that's not a restaurant or a business. It's more of like a either membership or like an actual landmark. And then you could see in the gray, there'll be crosses, meaning that's a church, and the other gray stuff will be other financial institutions. Then the blue will be stores, and also the icons change depending on what store it is. If it's a grocery store, it'll have a shopping cart. If it's a, say like Darwin Furniture is more of like a furniture store, it'll show a like little bag differentiating it away from a grocery store, and so on and so forth. So, and then I'll get into later, there's a satellite option on the bottom left-hand corner where you can get a more geographical look of like a satellite view. Instead of seeing just flat images and stuff, you can actually see, and then also I can show later, there's street view where there's actually a view where you can see stuff on the street, anything around. You can go back in time, say 10 years, depending on how far back they took pictures of that specific location. You can go farther up or back and enter in different addresses and see like a specific route and see what the surrounding area looks like or anything around the area. So then you can kind of see what kind of place you're looking at. Next is Google Drive. It's a cloud-based storage, which means that instead of saving your photos or videos on a USB drive or a hard drive, you can save it digitally on a server that Google moderates, and you can actually, you don't have to worry about, oh, well, the drive doesn't work anymore on my PC, or the drive is worn out on my portable hard drive or flash drive. Then this way you can actually, with this, you can download the app on your phone or anywhere else that has apps. So for instance, if you take a photo on your phone and you'll have your phone with you, but then you want to show one of your family members a photo you took with it, and if you, as long as you save it to Google Drive, you can actually, it'll be saved on that service. So then you can actually access it from your PC or anywhere else you can access your Google account from. And like I said, next, there is an ability to access it from anywhere on any device as long as you have an internet connection, like I said before, where say you start typing out on a Google Doc a resume. You don't finish it, but you want to take it on the go and you're on a train. You can actually save it to Google Drive. It actually saves it automatically, as I'll get into later. And you can continue where you left off. So you can finish it up before you, say, go to another destination or something like that. And the desktop app can make Google Drive appear as a drive on your computer for offline use. So you can actually download the app locally to your computer instead of, say, for instance, you don't have an internet connection, you don't have a hotspot or anything that uses internet. You can actually download the desktop app of Google Drive, and it'll actually, on Windows or any other Windows, Mac, it'll actually, in their file explorer, it'll show a specific drive that just specifically for Google Drive you can actually access without having a internet connection. It integrates Google Docs, and Google gives you 15 gigabytes free with making a Gmail account or a Google account. So make a Google account, you can get 15 gigs free, and you can expand upon it. I'll get into later, depending on what your needs are, and you'll get different amount of kind of space gaps. And this is kind of a example of what Google Drive looks like on the desktop. You'll see that there's a new option, whether it be you can change it to a doc, spreadsheet, or video, or a folder, or a photo, or just anything you want to save. You just click new, and then you can rename it. It'll upload it, and then it'll appear on the white space next to either the getting started PDF or just in the file section. Shared with me, my drive is basically everything that you have of your own. Shared with me is anything, like I said before, that say someone has a photo they want to share with you, they can actually have the option to opt to share it with you, and then it's not actually yours, but you can view it and stuff in that shared with me spot, and that's where it'll appear. Recent is anything you've seen recently in your Google Drive. Starred is anything you can physically star and you want to make that's more important. You can add it to that. Trash is self-explanatory. Storage, as you can see right there, I'm using 2.6 out of 15 of the free amount that you have when you make a Google account initially. And you can have the option to buy more storage, as I'll get into after the PowerPoint. Next is Google Calendar. It is used for organization. You can make it be used for personal events and organization, as well as by large businesses for planning employee schedules, meetings, etc. So what that means is that I'll get into later more of an example, but what that means is you can actually say you want to make a department meeting, and you want to plan it for next week. You can actually click on a specific time, a specific day, and then have a specific name of it, details. You can add people with Google accounts to that, to RSVP and stuff like that. And also, it can be integrated by other calendars like Outlook or anything else that uses a calendar system. So for instance, if you start off with Outlook and you have a plethora of appointments, but then you want to switch over to Google Calendar, you have the option to sync it with that, and you can have it move over to that. You can use it on either Google Calendar or Outlook. So that's always an option. And it also integrates seamlessly with other Google Web apps, Drive, Hangouts, anything like that. So you can actually plan a meeting, send out an invite, attach documents to a calendar event, and connect to meeting via Hangouts. So you have all those different options, and I'll get into them more in depth with my hands-on portion of the class. So there's that. And then as you can see right here is an example of what it kind of looks like, where you'll see the create, which I'll use an example of later. You can have a name of an event, add people to it, to RSVP, the time, the date, and what kind of thing it kind of has. And, excuse me, underneath create, you have a full calendar month. So you can kind of jump to stuff. You can have it either be a monthly view or a weekly view, as I'll get into later. And then my calendars, you can actually color code things so you don't get confused, or if you want to organize specifically stuff like your own personal stuff you want to add to it, which is the blue user checkbox. Birthdays, meaning anything like you can kind of categorize it. Reminders are in purple, tasks are in blue, a different shade of blue. And then holidays in the US or any other country you're using it from is in that kind of emerald green. So you can kind of differentiate what stuff kind of looks like. Next big one is Google Photos. It's a photo storage. This is for photo storage and organization. So for instance, by default, depending on what kind of Android device you have, it'll have Google Photos already pre-built in to it. So then if you take a photo from your camera app, you can have it choose to save it to Google Photos, and you kind of organize stuff. I'll show later on a more visual representation of what it looks like. It's an alternative to Apple and Amazon's own photo storage, which I'll get into later. It can be used on any device and share with any device, unlike Apple devices. Not devices, but their own actual photo storage service. So Google Photos, since it's an Android device, can be used on any device. So you can use it on iOS, Android, desktop, anything. It also syncs directly to your phone or acts as a cloud storage for your photos, like I said before with Google Drive. So anything you take, you can set up as, if you take a photo, it'll automatically put stuff into your Google Photos, and then you can kind of make folders and organize and edit and stuff like that. Like I said before, you can still have, in this next point, photo editing and sharing. So you can resize, modify, and also share the photo with other users as an option. And then you have the option to organize photos into printable books, which also be ordered directly through the app. So you can actually pretty much make like a picture book almost style-wise, but then you can actually do it through the app. I don't know if it still stands today, but we'll get into it when I get to the app itself on desktop. And this is like a visual representation of what Google Photos looks like. You have the photos, which is anything you have saved, anything that's shared to you underneath for sharing. Print store, you can print out, like I said before, you can print out stuff like a book or anything like that. And I'll get into that in a little bit. You have your library, which is your albums, anything you can categorize in a different album. Utilities, which is anything and kind of different options you have for your photos. Archive, you can send it to an archive folder. And then the trash, and then as you see before, that both Google Drive, Google Photos all use the exact same 15 gigs that you get free, and then you can add upon it if you want or not. And then there's the upload option and search your photos by name, by date, by tag. So there's that option. So let me get into the hands-on portion so you can kind of see examples and a more visual representation of what it looks like. So let's see. First, we'll go through everything in a specific order. So starting Google Calendar. As you can see here, you have the create option. So if you click on this, you can add a title, you can make it an event, task, reminder. You have different options if you click each one. You can set a date and time, and you can choose it to be all day event or just a specific time frame. You could choose for it to not repeat or repeat. So what you can do is you can choose to not repeat, or you can make an event where, say, if you have a meeting every third Tuesday of the month, then you can make it annually on February 19th, or make it for a specific day when you go to custom. And you could be like, oh, I want to make it for Tuesday, and it's every month. And then on that day, or you can make it choose for other occurrences. That means that you can actually, what it'll do is that you can choose either 1, 7, 10, and then it'll stop after that certain amount afterward. And then you can add guests, which any other Google account that you want to add guests to, add Google Meet to video conferencing. You can add that as a feature, add location, add description or attachments. And then for the user, you can choose you can choose what color you want, if you're busy or not, your visibility, a reminder before the event happens, and so on and so forth. You can search for people. You can see the different types of calendars. You can choose to toggle or remove any of the stuff. So you only see specific things. So if you only want to see holidays, you can uncheck all of these, and then only the holidays will actually show. And then you can open this, change the color. You can also change the name. Display this only. And then you can unsubscribe. You can change settings. You can change the name, the description, time zone, permission settings, and stuff like that. So I go back. That's pretty much that. And then you can see Google Keep. You can take notes on the side and send it to your Android device, iOS, web app. So you can kind of have notes on the side. You can see the tasks in the list. You can add maps, so like locations and stuff. You can add extra stuff, other add-ons like Zoom, G Suite, for G Suite and stuff like that. So you can have Microsoft Teams and add different types of apps to integrate with Calendar. You can also see a viewpoint of the week, the month, the day via the time, year, and so on and so forth. Next is contacts. And what Google Contacts is, so say you have a Pixel 4a, which is Google's own manufactured phone that uses Android. As long as you have some of your contacts saved in that app, you can see them all in this list, and you can modify, add them, import them, and stuff like that. And then you can see merge and fix. You can create labels for groups, choose import, export, you can print. So for instance, you want to make a list of contacts and you don't want to have to write them down physically, you can just make a whole list and then just print them out afterward. Other contacts, trash. Next is Google Drive. And then as I talked about before, you can create new, you can do a file upload from your computer, folder upload, you can be a Google Doc, sheet, slide, form, drawing, and all this other stuff right here, and all that will actually show up here. So for instance, if I want to go to new, Google Docs, if I want to start typing like this is a test, and then it'll actually save automatically. So then when I go back to Drive, it'll pop up in my files. So then you can go on your phone or you can come back later, double click on it, and then start back where you finished. And then you have the shared with me, like I said before, you can share folders or anything like that, and then it'll pop up right here. You can access from here. There is a recent section, which is anything you've recently modified or saved, starred. So what that is that if I went to here, and then if I star the document, you'll go back, and then it'll pop up in this section, trash, and then you'll see the buy storage option, which applies for everything else. Let's see. Oh, that's why. There we go. Can you see that now? Okay, sorry about that. Well, this is the options that you have for Google One, which you'll have the 15 gigs for free when you make a Google account. And then you'll have the recommended, and you'll have another bigger portion right here and right here, which the difference is you can actually pay it monthly. So if you want to pay the $199 monthly, or if you want to pay the $20 for the entire year, and then underneath that, you'll see what each package kind of includes. Like for instance, you'll have the 100 gigs of storage, access to Google Experts, option to add your family to the plan, member benefits, and so on and so forth. And then each of the other options too, you get the bigger packages, you'll get 10% back in-store credit on your Google Store purchases if you get that. So for instance, if you're paying for the 2 terabyte plan, you say you want to buy a Pixelbook Go, you actually get 10% back in-store credit to use towards that if you're still paying for this, which is always a bonus. And then you can see right here, you have your different options, change your storage plan anytime, how many people you get to add, the benefits. and that kind of deal. So that's what the general idea is. Let me go back. And next, we'll get into Gmail. As you can see right here, there's the primary section, which has all of your regular emails. Like right here, as an example, there's security alert saying you're signed in from another account from another device. You can choose to star it, and then it'll show up in starred. You check this box, you can move to archive, spam, delete, move to inbox, move to a different inbox. And social, you'll see different advertisements, or you'll get stuff from social media sites, social networking stuff like Facebook, YouTube. Promotions, you'll get different ads based on what it kind of dictates. Then you have snooze, which is stuff that you can push off to a later time, sent, drafts. Go to more, you can choose stuff that's important. Save your Google Hangout chats, start a new meeting, join a meeting, and everything's pretty much on the same right here on the side. Now is Google Maps. As you can see right here, if you want to look for, say, the Orland Park Library. And then it'll show you the address, the active hours, the actual website, phone number, as a label, show you the different popular times throughout the day, so you can choose and pick which time of the day you want to go. Different photos made by different users, reviews, and then if I collapse this, you'll see like a metric view of everything around the restaurant, the grocery stores, the businesses, the playgrounds, fields. And then if you choose satellite, you'll get a geographical version of it, so like a top-down view of what the streets kind of look like around the area. And if I want to go back, if I go to 360 view from here, you can see, you can kind of click and drag, and it'll show you what the area kind of looks like. If I go back, and then if I want to say, let's see, Orland Park Library, if I say to Panda Express in the same area, you'll see a point A to point B. You can modify it at any time. You can add a different destination too if you want to kind of add multiple destinations to see what kind of order you want to go into. You can see right here, you have the recommended travel mode depending on the best kind of way to get there in the fastest amount of time. You have 3 different options via either the car, the walking, the biking. So if you click on this, it'll give you different directions, how many feet in between to make the turn, how many miles. It'll tell you if it's the fastest route or not. And then you see right here the train, walking, biking, and then plane. And also, if you take this little guy right here, you can put him right here, and then automatically take you to the street view, so you can kind of see what the place kind of looks like, or anything around the area, what the street's called, and so on and so forth. And then next, that's all for Google Maps. And then next, Google Photos. You have all your photos saved here. Sharing, anything you are shared with you or you share with someone else. Print store, so you can make photo books, prints, premium prints, canvas, and then you can kind of add stuff, make a book. So if I go here. You can take any photos from here and make a picture book, and it'll give you just different types of estimates based on the pricing and whatnot. Albums, so you can take multiple photos and categorize them: people, places, things, videos. Utilities, if you want to make them a movie or animation, collage. Archive, anything you want to move to the archive folder. Trash bin, and then you still have the option below of what kind of storage plan you have right now. And then you can choose the option to upload from your computer or Google Drive. And you can also download to back and sync from either Mac or PC. Next is, let's see, Google Play. Anything you buy via either apps, movies or TV shows, books. You can see what you've bought, and you can watch on other devices. You can see ratings, recommendations, and then you can see whatever you download from your Android device or iOS device. If you use Google Play Store. And then next is, let's see, Google search. It'll bring you back right back to the Google front page. Google Translate will translate your font. YouTube, anything is a video streaming site where people upload, or you can buy movies or TV shows based on what kind of deal this stuff right here is. With YouTube too, is that you can see home, which is anything you subscribe to is recommended to you. Trending section, which is anything that's trending for the day. Anyone you're subscribed to will pop up here within the same day or not. Library, based on what you want to watch later. History, your videos. Which is studio where you can create videos and stuff like that. And then if I get out of here, so I go back to YouTube. You can see right here, your liked videos, watch later, anything you buy for movies, so on and so forth. You have the bell, you have purchases and memberships, and change your device theme, have different YouTube apps, create a video. So I go back to google.com. Google News, which is anything that has to do with news. Google Meet, like I said before, is kind of like Zoom, but it's Google's own variant. Duo is a one-on-one. So for instance, like it's video chatting. So instead of calling or texting, you can just use that app, and then you can basically do a FaceTime. Bloggers for blogs, books, buying books. Google Classroom is for stuff relating to making assignments or hosting assignments, submitting assignments. Google Docs is a document word processor. Google Earth, you can move around the Earth, see different temperatures and spots, and just a more 3D representation of what it kind of looks like. Google Finance, see stocks, news about stocks and stuff like that. Hangouts, like I mentioned before. Google Keep is for note taking. Google Shopping will give you different options for different stores. Sheets is like a spreadsheet. Slides for slideshows. Podcast, listen to podcasts. Google One, which is kind of like the cloud-based server of it. Then there's Google Advertisements, Arts and Cultures, and Stadia, and much, much more. But yeah, that's the gist of what that kind of is. So let me go back to this. And that's about it. So I'll leave the last couple minutes or so for any questions, but that was all things Google. Thank you for watching. And as you can see right here, there's different classes that we offer here, hosted by different members of the department. You're very welcome. And next is Bitcoin and Beyond, which covers cryptocurrency and what you can do with that. On March 13th is Microsoft Word Basics. On the 16th of March, interacting with inter-series piracy. And then the 18th is interacting with the inter-series security. And then on the 22nd is Cable No More. And each one of those is a different option for word processing. It's one of the most used word processors in the world. And then privacy is basically the different steps you can take and the different steps as far as what you can offer and what it kind of entails. Security will branch upon that and add extra layers to that. And then Cable No More Part 1, we'll be talking about actually getting away from cable companies and then using more streaming services. And then there's a Part 1 and Part 2 class. So overall, you'll get a learning experience of the options you have of switching. You have many different streaming services. You have your different pricing options and everything kind of in that bubble to learn about. So yeah, my name is Joe. I'm IT2, and you can see on the bottom right here, here's my email, and then the extension you can contact me or anybody else that's currently sitting at the desk to ask any other further questions. So this has been the Orland Park Public Library with all things Google. And change this right here. This has been Joe with the Orland Park Public Library with all things Google. Thank you for watching.